Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Morris. I'm the president of Pi Gamma Mu, and welcome to the 31st annual Merrill E. Gaddis Lecture, or as most of you will call it, your extra credit saving grace. One thing that we need to note about this lecture is that it's not just an event to go to. Merrill E. Gaddis was a very prominent man here at Central Methodist. He was the history teacher here from 1929 until 1958, January 16th actually. He was a World War I veteran, he was a prominent author, and he was a very distinguished man here on campus. And that is exactly what we're doing here tonight. We're not only celebrating him, but we're celebrating the knowledge that our wonderful professors give to us and the knowledge that we're giving back to them through listening to our distinguished alumni come here tonight and tell us about what they're doing in their communities with the wonderful education that they got here. Our speaker tonight began her career just like we are, by being here. She graduated from Central in 2001 with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Communications, along with a minor in history. Gaddis would be proud. He was a history professor. She is a General Lewis M. Means Award recipient, pre-law fellow, and debate team member, just to name a few of her accomplishments here. Her accomplishments outside of this institution are far more numerous. She is an MU Law School graduate, American Bar Association delegate, ABA Lieutenant Governor of the 8th District, and within a year after passing the bar, accepted a position in the Office of Missouri Attorney General, who was Jay Nixon at the time. Her most recent activities include being the Enforcement Counsel for the Department of Insurance, Financial Institutions, and Professional Registration, Unit Chief in the Labor Division of the Attorney General's Office, and she is currently an attorney in the Commissioner's Office of Missouri's Office of Administration under Commissioner Doug Nelson. She is chair of both the Missouri Bar's Government Attorney Committee and the Women Lawyers Association of Mid-Missouri. Somehow managing a life outside of all of this, she is an active volunteer in her community, wife, and mother of two. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our esteemed alumnus, Kristen Paulsmeyer.
Good evening. It's a pleasure being here tonight. I appreciate the invitation from Pi Gamma Mu to join you this evening and participate in this lecture series. Pi Gamma Mu, the Gaddis Lecture, and Central Methodist have collaborated to create a respected academic opportunity for both Central Methodist students, alumni, and the community to come together. Thank you for asking me to join you tonight as part of this annual tradition. And I want to extend my thanks to the faculty at Central Methodist. It's been a pleasure this evening reconnecting with some of those professors that have made an impression on my life path, as well as those I've been able to meet for the first time tonight. It goes without saying that the Gaddis Lecture wouldn't be possible without their dedication and support. Congratulations to the new inductees tonight. I was discussing this upcoming lecture with a fellow alumna this weekend, and she recalled fondly that this lecture was historically the source of significant extra credit points. I encourage the students here to lobby their professors accordingly. I'm joined here tonight by a few special guests I'd like to introduce. My husband, Jason Paulsmeyer, also an attorney and counsel at the Missouri Public School and Education Employee Retirement System, and my daughter Reagan, a brilliant third grader at Blair Oaks Elementary School. I'm also joined by my mother-in-law, Sabra Paulsmeyer, and want to extend a special thanks to my father-in-law, Dwayne, tonight. He's staying with my spirited 3-year-old son, Harrison, who would have very much wanted to join us and would have undoubtedly offered a more entertaining lecture for everyone. It wouldn't be fitting to give this lecture tonight without the standard disclaimer you would expect from an attorney. So here it goes. It should be noted that any opinions or statements expressed in this lecture or discussed by me tonight are my own, and not the opinion of any past or present employer or any organization I'm associated with or a part of. As you probably saw in tonight's program, I've titled my lecture, Chasing Big Dreams and Impacting Your World Along the Way. I'm not usually much of a title person, but I think it's likely an informal requirement, or at least an expectation, that the Gaddis Lecture have an attention-grabbing title. And so I don't know if I achieved that, but with that caveat, tonight I hope to convey my story, where I started, the paths I've traveled so far, which includes Central Methodist, and the opportunities I've had to hopefully make a positive influence on the world around me. As was mentioned in my introduction, I'm an attorney, and as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be an attorney. It's always been the dream I chased, or maybe it was more of a premonition I couldn't shake, but I was always very, very certain that it was something that would be a part of whatever I wanted to do with my life. Now, I won't tell you that I didn't toy with other potential career paths over the years. Most notably, I might have flirted with the idea of being a hairstylist around the age of 10, and it wasn't lost on me that perhaps I should have a plan B in my back pocket in case the LSAT was a miserable disaster. But deep down, from childhood to adolescence to college, I always knew I wanted to be an attorney when I grew up. And I think it's interesting that we often see ourselves in the world around us most clearly when we're young and uninfluenced by what those around us want us to be or believe we can be. And for me, that crystal clear memory is that of being a tween, a precocious tween at that, and declaring with absolute certainty that when I grew up, I was going to be an attorney, I was going to marry an attorney, and I was going to live in Washington, D.C. Turns out I was right on the first two, but mistook Jefferson City for D.C. I'm sure lots of people make that same mistake. I've often reflected on my fascination with attorneys as a child and my admiration for the practice of law. It didn't come to me organically. And in many ways, the idea of being an attorney was chasing a very big dream. I didn't grow up in a family of attorneys. In fact, I didn't have any attorneys in my family, or even my extended family. There weren't any attorneys in the circle of family friends. And it was a big idea for me. I grew up in Arkansas and Oklahoma, the oldest of 6 children. I was homeschooled, and as I mentioned earlier, I didn't actually know any attorneys. While no one discouraged my bold idea, I mean, after all, in America, we can dream to grow up whatever we want to be. I'm not sure I actually had anyone who shared my certainty. But I do think that fascination with attorneys had many influences, and in it, ideals I was drawn to. First, I think the ideal that you can change the world and be a part of those things, catapulting society forward, is an ideal anyone interested in the social sciences is drawn to. Throughout my life, and I think many people's lives, there is the desire to make the world a better place, from the idealistic, such as world peace or ending hunger, to the tangible, changing a discriminatory practice in your own community or life. The law and the practice of law is such an integral part of our identity as Americans, and the tenets of equality, justice, and basic freedoms are ideals that continue to be litigated, explored, and discussed in our legal system. I wanted to be a part of that conversation, and many of the integral conversants are attorneys. Of course, I was also motivated by the iconic attorney role models, both fictional and non-fictional. And you know, in the past, I might have mentioned Atticus Finch here, but I haven't read Go Set a Watchman yet, so maybe that's not the appropriate reference anymore. Maybe better examples are Thurgood Marshall or Sandra Day O'Connor, who have distinctly left their mark on American culture and society forever. I looked up to and idolized the attorneys who fearlessly sought justice, especially for those without a voice. It seemed to me that being an attorney was the ultimate way to help other people, ordinary people, the people that I knew or wanted to know, and play a role in helping them through where they were at in the world, whether that's through the many roles afforded by our criminal justice system, through navigating difficult personal or family issues, founding a not-for-profit, starting their dream business, or fighting an injustice. In all of these scenarios, attorneys play an integral part and have the distinct role of helping their client, often through something challenging or difficult, but certainly life-changing. There were the more practical motivators that attracted me to the practice of law as well. I wanted to feel like I always had a plan, was never left without recourse, and carried the confidence of knowing what to do. I think that I perceived attorneys as the ultimate maverick, the jack of all trades and the game changers. Plus, attorneys managed to have that persona of someone you wouldn't want to mess with, the wrong person to scam or pull something over on. And they were always cognizant of their rights. I found that to be an impressive repertoire and figured no matter what I wanted to do, it'd probably be easier to do as an attorney. And then, of course, there were the realistic considerations. What I knew of attorneys is that they were often vocal, sometimes loud. They are by definition zealous advocates. As a child, tween, teenager, and adult, I was always fairly certain that I would never be very successful, and certainly not very happy with anything that required me to be quiet and demure. So maybe I was a realist in recognizing that perhaps it would be most intuitive to be an attorney. And so with both lofty and practical aspirations, I was certain that I wanted to chase the dream of being an attorney. And while my background matrix didn't point to a career as an attorney, I choose, and we all choose, the dreams we chase and the paths we pursue. And with that, I arrived at CMU, then CMC, in 1997. After a brief stint as an economics major, which ended abruptly after one course in microeconomics, I found my home in a double major in political science and communications with a history minor. I won't bore everyone with a recitation of my resume tonight, but while at Central Methodist, I participated in the debate team, the pre-law club, the judicial board, several honor societies, including Pi Gamma Mu, and was the pre-law fellow to Dr. Carter. Following Central Methodist, and after a lot of encouragement and guidance from Dr. Carter, I headed to Mizzou for law school. One of my husband's friends sometimes refers to starting law school as entering the gates of hell. If you're someone that's considering law school, I can say that while it certainly does come with some challenges, it's not quite that bad. When I attended law school, and I think this is still true of most law schools today, most of the classes you take your first year are predetermined in broad legal areas: contracts, property, torts, civil procedure, legal research and writing, and criminal law. One of the challenges your first year is learning how to read and analyze case law and write like an attorney. Coming into a law school with a communications and political science background certainly aided me in meeting that challenge. Most exams in law school are exclusively essay-based, and usually you only have one comprehensive exam at the end of the semester, which comprises your entire grade. As you might imagine, finals and the weeks leading up to finals inevitably had the law school in a buzz. It's really better described as an eerie quiet, with law students completely consumed by the exams ahead of them. Most exam questions don't have a correct answer, but are more based on your ability to analyze a certain set of facts and apply the law to those facts. So even if your ultimate conclusion is not the same conclusion that your professor might have reached, the explanation and analysis you go through is really where you're in your grade. In many ways, that's reflective of the practice of the law. Analyzing facts that don't have a clear yes or no answer, and trying to decide if the gray area you're looking at is closer to yes or closer to no. Most times, the answer is a maybe. My advice to prospective law students is to hone your writing and analytical skills, as they will almost certainly be a benefit to you in law school. I'd also have to say that, although it can be challenging at times, attending law school is definitely an experience I would go through again if the end result is getting to where I am today. I graduated from Mizzou in 2004, passed the bar, and accepted a position the same year in then Attorney General Jay Nixon's office as an Assistant Attorney General. I spent almost 6 years in the Labor Division of the Attorney General's office, first as a line attorney and then as their unit chief in the Jefferson City office. The Labor Division is charged with the defense of the Second Injury Fund and the defense of the state of Missouri as the employer in workers' compensation cases. The Labor Division was definitely a sink or swim kind of experience. I had a full caseload my first day there. And in that division, it's a very large caseload, to the tune of somewhere between 700 and 1,000 cases per attorney. Workers' compensation dockets for me weren't a case or even a box of cases, but several boxes of cases with a little cart to carry them in. It was fast, it was fast-paced, with frequent court appearances, depositions, and interactions, both with other attorneys and with pro se litigants every week. I traveled to dockets and depositions around the state and had the opportunity to learn about many different jobs in the state of Missouri, as well as hear firsthand the profound impact workers' compensation injuries, as well as disabilities, have on those jobs and the individuals seeking those jobs. I had the opportunity to take my cases from cradle to grave and litigated several cases from their initial hearing all the way up to the Court of Appeals. And in one case, successfully argued to the Supreme Court of Missouri that the motion for transfer should be denied. It goes without saying that this position afforded me extensive deposition and discovery experience, as well as first-year defense at the administrative, commission, and appellate levels. After 2 years, I was promoted to the unit chief of the Jefferson City Labor Office. In that role, I supervised 4 attorneys and 4 support staff, and was ultimately responsible for the defense of approximately 4,000 workers' compensation files. In addition to these duties, I maintained primary responsibility for my own caseload, and at that time that was the Jefferson City and Fulton dockets, the Crime Victims Compensation Fund docket, and the defense of related circuit court actions. Besides the legal and managerial aspects of my job, I also had the unique opportunity in this position to recruit, train, and interact with new attorneys entering into the field of public service. At the Attorney General's office, I was part of the Recruitment Committee, a group that recruited, interviewed, and helped place attorneys into the various positions and public service opportunities found within the Attorney General's office. I was able to travel to various law schools on behalf of our office and meet and interact with a number of attorneys and prospective attorneys interested in a career in public service. I also chaired their new attorney orientation committee, which led an annual workshop that was mandatory for new attorneys who joined the office, and was a speaker for several continued legal education presentations for new attorneys entering the office. While with that office, I presented continued legal education, or CLEs, on a variety of topics to both new and more seasoned attorneys, and found that these opportunities to collaborate with the other attorneys to be not only beneficial, but the hallmark of practice in the public sector. I also directly supervised interns and new attorneys, sometimes due to the office, but often due to the practice of law as well. And as part of that role, I spent a good portion of my time training, assisting, and working cases side by side. I found these aspects of my job to be a particularly good fit and particularly rewarding. After almost 6 years with the Attorney General's office and after an administration change, I was recruited by some former Attorney General's office coworkers to join them at the Department of Insurance, Financial Institutions, and Professional Registration. This department is charged with examining and monitoring the financial industries and business professionals and enforcing the state laws and regulations to protect consumers. I joined the department as enforcement counsel in the Division of Insurance, and that job centered around enforcing Missouri's insurance laws and regulations to protect public interests, and specifically to protect consumers. These type of cases would best be described as licensing actions, and this type of practice was primarily in front of the Administrative Hearing Commission. This job enabled me to embrace a different side of practicing law in the public sector, with my focus being consumer-driven and perhaps best described as prosecutorial in nature, with topics such as fraud, misappropriation of funds, and good old-fashioned stealing. The Department of Insurance also afforded me the opportunity to broaden my experiences within the public sector. In addition to licensing cases, my job included drafting fiscal notes, which many state agencies are required to submit to the legislature to detail how a particular proposed bill would impact that agency financially, serving as a hearing officer, rulemaking, which is a function of administrative law, and assisting in investigations. I also worked on receivership matters on behalf of the department, which, for those of you unfamiliar with receivership, is similar to bankruptcy for an insurance company. I found the consumer-driven nature of enforcement counsel to be a fulfilling aspect of practice in the public sector, and litigating on behalf of the public incomparable to practice in any other area of the law. Which leads me to my current position. Following the 2012 election, I joined the Office of Administration in the Commissioner's Office, where I serve as legal counsel to Commissioner Doug Nelson. The Office of Administration is the administrative and managerial arm of Missouri state government. It provides services for state agencies and serves as the state's administrative office. The core functions provided by the Office of Administration include administering the state budget and accounting activities for the state, administering the human resources system and providing HR services, coordinating information technology service and telecommunications for state agencies, providing and maintaining office and other space for governmental operations and protecting the state's investments and property assets, procuring supplies, materials, equipment, and services for state agencies, and managing the state transportation fleet, vehicle maintenance, state printing, risk management, and central mail services. Consequently, I work on a wide range of legal matters and issues for the Office of Administration. And those topics can include sunshine law requests, subpoenas, garnishments, rulemaking, legislation, fiscal notes, policies, state merit system, union grievances, information technology, contract, and state liability issues. I also counsel Office of Administration Human Resources on personnel issues, such as the Americans with Disability Act, Family Medical Leave Act, supervisor and management training, employee discipline, and personnel decisions, as well as respond to the Missouri Commission on Human Rights and the EEOC inquiries on behalf of the office. I assist the Deputy Commissioner and Division Directors on a wide range of issues, legal and non-legal, as they arise and as requested by the Commissioner's Office. I also serve as the Commissioner's designee on the Board of Trustees of the Missouri Public Entity Risk Management Fund. Because of the nature of my job duties, no day for me is predictable. Each day is almost guaranteed to be different, and every hour is almost certain to be fast-paced. As I mentioned, the Office of Administration combines and coordinates the central management functions of state government, which affords me the opportunity to interact and collaborate with other state and agency attorneys and personnel. As a result, my day-to-day can include coordinating with counsel for other agencies or the Attorney General's office regarding e-discovery, collaborative efforts with other state entities and personnel on implementing the provisions of the Affordable Care Act, providing online training on the state merit system for agency personnel, managing outside litigation counsel, or interacting with attorneys in private practice or members of the public who have submitted an open records request. And perhaps this collaboration has been one of my favorite aspects because it allows me to do what I do best, work with other attorneys and interact with individuals in a productive, progressive way. Being an attorney is and can be all those things I thought it would be, and probably some things I didn't think of either. As I'm sure you've caught from my brief recap of experiences, the practice of law is much broader than what I initially thought, but I haven't been disappointed. The common thread in my recitation of past jobs I've shared with you tonight is definitely the theme of practice in the public sector, and certainly my career to present has been defined by my role in the public sector. I'm very proud of my career in public service, and I find it to be a rewarding area to practice in. A law professor of mine once said that it never gets old saying, "Comes now the state of Missouri." And I think that idea, that it never gets old to represent the public interest, is a pillar of practice in the public sector. Practice in the public sector isn't unique to attorneys, and for the many educators, social workers, and those risking their lives in public safety positions, I think we all appreciate the important role of the public interest for all of us. I very much applaud and respect those efforts. I think the other common thread you'll find in my career has been my continued commitment to the community. And I'm using the word community broadly here. I think for me, community applies to numerous facets of my life. It applies to my profession, the practice of law, where I've had the opportunity to be active in numerous professional affiliations, including serving as the current chair of the Missouri Bar Government Attorneys Committee and chair of the Women Lawyers Association of Missouri. I've chaired and participated in numerous trainings, spoken at continued legal education seminars, trained personnel as part of the online training program, and frequently been a panelist for incoming law students at Mizzou Law School. I've also had the opportunity to be immersed in the community I live in, whether that's as a board member for an early childhood learning center, a risk management pool, or committees at my local church. In addition to structured leadership roles, I volunteered in my local community through Girl Scouts, my local elementary school, and preschool. Sometimes leadership is as much about helping out and being a part of things as it is about being a member or officer of an organization. I can tell you that I've never regretted being an attorney, maybe with the brief exception of when I was studying for the bar. The practice of law was and is the best background for what I wanted to do and hope to still accomplish in my life. However, for all of you here tonight, I don't think the things I want or wanted are exclusive to the practice of law. The social sciences and Central Methodist are a great catalyst for these same ideas and aspirations. These are themes found throughout social sciences in the study of people, law, history, philosophy, and the world. We're all a part of change. We all have the background and education to be leaders, and we're all a part of our community and have an equal and parallel responsibility to impact our world. Leadership not only drives us to be who we are as individuals, but moves and changes our community with it. Whether we embrace our own leadership or not, we will all make an impression on our community, even if that imprint is the form of ambivalence. It's our responsibility to do more than simply exist in the world around us, but to impact our world throughout our life. And these opportunities to transform our world are inherent for each of us individually, in each of our individual families, professions, communities, and causes we're a part of. My hope tonight is to challenge you to dive into your corner of humanity. Regardless of where you're at in your life or your career, there are countless opportunities for leadership and service around you. Some may practically fall in your lap, while others you may have to affirmatively search out, but I can assure you they are out there. Being here at Central Methodist, I am confident that there are many opportunities for service and leadership here on campus, as well as off campus in the Fayette and Howard County communities. Chances are, for those of you moving into the job market, having those leadership and service roles in your background and on your resume will make you more attractive to potential employers. As part of influencing or helping the world around us, we first have to identify the places, needs, causes, and ways we as individuals are most effective. I think often the place to start is finding those causes or issues that you're passionate about and that naturally fit into the blueprint of your life. Sometimes I think these causes or activities have a way of finding you, and sometimes finding your niche can require more affirmative action on your part. Either way, an important part of leadership is understanding your role, understanding your talents and perhaps limitations, understanding what you can contribute, and finding the place or niche you fit best. And I think that the place you best fit is something that can change and evolve over your lifetime. For instance, I'm currently chair of the Women Lawyers Association of Mid-Missouri and involved with our local Girl Scout troop at Blair Oaks Elementary. I've been involved with an affiliate of Women's Law Association since law school and served in numerous roles in my time with the organization. My role has evolved, the organization has changed, but it's a cause I've been committed to. In contrast, Girl Scouts are something I'm really new to. So new, I recently had to watch a YouTube video on proper placement of badges on the brownie sash. And for those of you who haven't done it, it's challenging. And with that, I'm also learning the materials for the upcoming meeting on making new friends. This is a new role for me, but one I wanted to be involved in, to support our local troop and school, my daughter and her friends. It's also a good example and reminder that there are times the best role for you to play in an organization is just to be an active and contributing member and allow others to fill the leadership roles while offering your support. Find your place, but don't be afraid to adjust your course and adjust your focus as your life changes. Impacting your role is often about direction, but still allowing for flexibility on life's pathways, both professionally and personally. We don't have a crystal ball to navigate life, whether that's the challenges, failures, abilities, or opportunities it may afford us. Don't be afraid to adapt to your environment. Don't be afraid of an alternate path, and embrace the fault in your stars. Have a general idea of where you want to go, but don't be afraid to adjust your course and adjust your goals accordingly. Just over 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with malignant melanoma. At the time, I was 31, pregnant with my son Harrison, and a busy attorney. Time stood still, and my priorities were suddenly unsteady, and my focus was tempered by the uncertainty for me, and more importantly for baby Harrison. That diagnosis and that year took me on some different and unplanned paths. It was addressed aggressively and quickly, and 2 surgeries later completely removed. But I sport a long scar, once prominent, but now faded with time, and well hidden thanks to a skilled surgeon, that serves as a constant reminder that life can throw you a curveball. And that's a big example, and we all have those big examples in our lives. But oftentimes there are small, sometimes inconsequential forks in the road, and flexibility in your goals and pathways can afford you with unanticipated opportunities. No matter where you're at in your journey, always seize the opportunity. It's always easier to employ a laundry list of procrastination or maybe apprehension, but very little is ever gained in leadership or in life by action. Opportunities don't always present themselves a second time, so jump in. And as we Arkansas natives say, go whole hog. It's worth saying that the opportunities aren't always labeled as opportunities, and the nexus to the next big thing can be transparent. But consider every job you're in to be a potential interview for your next job, every friendship to be a valuable connection, and each life moment the possibility of being timeless. Perhaps hand in hand with seizing opportunities is considering every invitation. Make it a habit not to turn down an invite, whether it's to lunch, a holiday party, a not-for-profit committee meeting, or a school fundraiser. Start out with the mantra, never to say no to an invite, and then work back from there. From a practical standpoint, it's difficult to navigate life's requirements alone, and everyone's a friend of a friend. Plus, holiday parties can be a lot of fun. As part of the questionnaire for my public sector award for the 2015 Up-and-Coming Attorneys selected by Missouri Lawyers Weekly, I was asked what simple advice I'd give to new attorneys. And my response was, maintain a wide circle of friends and never miss an opportunity to connect with other attorneys. Without the attorney-centric spin, that would be my advice tonight as well. Don't limit yourself, your dreams, or the impact you can have on others by having a narrow friend base. Be inclusive, be approachable, and be authentic to yourself and others. I think we've all played those get-to-know-you orientation mixers where you're asked to share a hidden talent with the group. I'll share my answer with the group tonight. Very honestly, I don't have one. I never have. But I think my true talent over the years has been finding people more talented than I am and convincing them to work with me on something. And I'm employed this tact a lot over the years, whether it's been persuading a more gifted friend to give me pointers in a challenging class, convincing a mover and shaker to join me in a leadership role or on a committee, stacking the deck with fresh talent to pull off a successful fundraiser, or teaming up with a friend every Christmas to tackle holiday candy. I don't think I realized it at the time, but what I consider my hidden talent is a hallmark of many leaders who coined it before I did. Don't be an island, utilize the talents around you, and recruit others to help you achieve a goal. I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, "There's no limit to what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit." Understand that individuals can bring their unique vantage point and talents to the table, and different skill sets are applicable to different goals. Don't marginalize people or yourselves, and don't be afraid to recruit talent to help you achieve your goals. And tonight I've talked a lot about volunteering, seizing opportunities, and saying yes to invitations. But I'd also like to temper that advice with an important caveat. Say yes to invitations, but exercise discretion with commitments. Don't commit if you're not prepared for the follow-through. I think it's our duty and obligation to help support and make meaningful contributions to those things we're a part of in any way we can. However, with all things, there are many roles and ways that assistance can be offered. And it's the antithesis of leadership to volunteer or agree to commitments you have no ability or intention of honoring. I often tell my daughter in response to playground disputes and hurt elementary school feelings that we don't have to be best friends with everyone all the time. We can have different friends for different purposes, and it's okay to not like everyone, but we must always treat everyone with respect. I think these same disagreements are present in the adult world, and the same advice applies. Remember that board members, colleagues, or acquaintances don't have to be your best friend to be effective at what they do. Further, you may find that certain people's presence can be of great value in a particular facet of your life, while perhaps not someone you would necessarily appreciate in other areas. Finally, there are some individuals you simply do not consider someone you would voluntarily associate with. However, as an effective leader, it's your job to be inclusive, responsive, and to treat everyone respectfully. Resist the urge to think in terms of playground friendships and focus on appreciating what each person can bring to a common goal. Strive toward a kaleidoscope of diversity. Leadership allows diversity to exist and sparkle in the brilliance of its natural world. Don't be afraid of criticism or varying ideas or different pathways to a common goal. Community is most strong in its differences. An executive director of a not-for-profit that I deeply respect once said that everyone has an expiration date. She wasn't speaking in terms of mortality tables, but in terms of useful time of service. While that sounds harsh, I think she's relayed a truth I've come to know. Understand that everyone serves a leadership role, but for one reason or another, there's usually a time to move on. This can come from the practical reasons, like your children are no longer involved in a particular activity, or it can come from the more personal reasons, such as you're simply no longer fulfilled by participating in a particular cause or leadership position. Either way, it's better for you and the organization to embrace the fact that it may be time for you to move on. My suggestion is to do that with grace. Reflect on your own time frame, complete your obligations, and recruit new talent to help the organization fill the gaps. It's okay to move on, but do it in a respectable way. When I reflect on the dreams I've chased and where I am now in the portrait of my life, I'm acutely cognizant of those who helped me along the way and look to the ways I can pay that forward. I once had an attorney I worked for in law school during the summers who affirmatively picked up the phone and made a call for me to another attorney and member of a hiring committee for a particular position I was pursuing. I got the job, and I've never forgotten the call he put in for me. It was a pivotal position for me moving forward and impacted several other career decisions of mine. I'm deeply grateful for the people who believed in me, perhaps before I believed in myself, and have made that phone call for me or went to bat for me. I think we all have an obligation in the same way to seek out the up-and-comers in whatever field we're in and facilitate and encourage those behind us. Central Methodist very much can be a catalyst for this same type of story. I had a fellow Central Methodist graduate who, other than that connection I didn't really know, looked me up my last year in law school. I offered her the sparse sage advice I had and loaded her up with all of my and my spouse's study aids, books, and outlines, just because she found me and reached out. I encourage everyone here tonight to not overlook the little things that may appear in their path where they have the opportunity to be a part of someone else's journey. I would also suggest exercising caution when faced with burning bridges. While burning bridges may be moderately satisfying in the moment, it rarely leads to long-time satisfaction or fulfillment. We all have those people that have treated us badly. I wouldn't struggle to tell you my top 5 attorneys who have been unnecessarily hard to deal with. I also wouldn't struggle to name the people in high school who I don't particularly want to keep in contact with. And that's okay. As I said earlier, you don't have to be best friends with everyone. But unfortunately, burning bridges is rarely as satisfying as you think, and is almost always counterproductive to your cause. I won't tell you not to do it, but I'll caution you to give it some thought. Leadership is broader than looking at yourself, but is taking in the world around you. It's about supporting the community you're a part of, wherever you are. That may be your career, your job, your schools, your activities, your passions, your causes, your family, and your world. Wherever you're at and whatever place you're at, I encourage you to jump in. I think sometimes we all have our moments where we're disillusioned by the concern that we're not at the finish line of where we hope or aspire to be. And that's okay, because we're not. We're somewhere on that journey. Impacting your world isn't about that end point, but is about the leadership and sense of community on our individual journey toward the goal. The significance of an individual action or involvement isn't always apparent at that moment, but is revealed in time. I encourage everyone here tonight to evaluate their goals, map out their plan, and go whole hog. Life is short and unpredictable. Actions are better than regrets. Make lots of friends and don't be afraid to learn from them. Seize every opportunity, consider every invitation, and appreciate the vantage point others have to offer. Engage those causes you're a part of and fulfill your commitments. Pay it forward and always support the community you're a part of. Never stop chasing your big dreams. It's been my privilege to be a part of this special event tonight, the Gaddis Lecture, hosted by Pi Gamma Mu and Central Methodist. Thank you for your time this evening. Before we close, I've been told we're offering an opportunity for questions.